Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a court case that honestly reads more like a thriller. It's a story about a decade of love, a truly cold-blooded betrayal, and a legal fight against a defendant who was, for all intents and purposes, a ghost. And that's the central puzzle of this whole story. I mean, just imagine you're suing someone who co-owns your home, but they've literally vanished off the face of the earth. How is the justice system supposed to work when one side is just silent? How can any court deliver a fair verdict? So our story really begins not at the start of this relationship, but at its very bitter end. I want you to picture a courtroom. An 82-year-old woman, Miss Camille, she's there ready to fight for her home. But the defendant's chair right across from her, it's completely, starkly empty. She is all alone in this fight. Yeah, this was no ordinary legal proceeding. This was a showdown with what the actual case files call a ghost defendant. Mr. Albini, her former partner, never showed up once, never replied to a single letter or call, and he never filed a single piece of paper with the court. A total no-show. You can see how this puts the court in an incredibly tough spot. I mean, justice demands that both sides get to tell their story. But what are you supposed to do when one side just refuses to show up? This became a real test of the system. Could it protect the rights of a ghost defendant while still delivering justice for a woman fighting to get her life savings back? So how on earth did it get to this point? To really understand that empty chair in the courtroom, we've got to rewind 10 years. We have to trace the story of a relationship that was supposedly built on trust, but, as we'll see, ended in absolute, calculated deceit. Okay, the timeline of this betrayal is just stunning. For 10 whole years, Miss Camille supported him completely. She even sold her own home to buy a new one for them, and she put his name on the title thinking it would help his residency application. Now look at these last two dates. He gets his citizenship on September 23rd, and just 4 days later, he ends the relationship and disappears. 4 days. This was not a spur-of-the-moment thing. This was a plan a decade in the making. You know, in her court statement, Miss Camille explained why she did it with this heartbreaking simplicity. She just said, "I loved him and I trusted him." For her, this wasn't a business deal. It was an act of faith. But for him, as that timeline shows, it seems to have been nothing but a cold, cruel calculation. And the betrayal didn't even stop there. When he left, he didn't just walk away with his new citizenship. He also took the car she had bought for him and tools and property from the home worth somewhere between $15,000 and $20,000. And then he just vanished. All right, so the man is gone. How does the legal system even begin to deal with a defendant who is now effectively a ghost? This is where the story shifts from just a personal tragedy to a really fascinating legal hunt. So the case immediately became a two-front war. Miss Camille's lawyer didn't just have to prove the betrayal happened. She also had to prove beyond any doubt that this ghost defendant was properly notified of the lawsuit. See, in the eyes of the law, you can't just have a trial if you haven't done everything in your power to contact the other person. And the lengths they went to were incredible. They hired private investigators. They actually managed to get him on the phone exactly one time. And on that call, he confirmed he knew what was going on. Then, when he disappeared again, the court gave them permission to serve the legal documents to his relatives. Every single notice was sent by registered mail and email, creating this undeniable paper trail proving they did their part. So, after reviewing this mountain of procedural evidence, the judge was finally satisfied. He confirmed that all the rules of fairness had been met, which gave him the green light to deliver a verdict based on the undisputed facts that Miss Camille had presented. And the verdict? It was clear, it was decisive. The judge ruled that based on her overwhelming, we're talking essentially 100% financial contribution to the property, the house was rightfully hers. It was a huge victory. But it brought up another critical question. Think about it. A piece of paper from a judge is a massive step, but it's not the last one. To actually transfer a property title, you need the other person's signature. So what do you do when that person is a ghost who has absolutely zero intention of cooperating? And this is where the law reveals its true power. The court issued something called a Section 106A order, and this is a legal masterstroke. It basically says that if Mr. Albini didn't sign the transfer documents within 30 days, a court official was legally authorized to sign for him, making the transfer totally unstoppable. So now that justice has finally been served, What can we all take away from this incredibly dramatic and frankly lonely legal battle? Because beyond all the fascinating legal details, this story holds some pretty profound lessons for all of us. This whole case is just filled with powerful reminders. First off, it shows that trying to disappear is the worst possible legal strategy you can have. You basically give up your right to be heard. It also proves that all that meticulous legal procedure, the stuff that seems so tedious, is the actual foundation of justice. And on a personal level, it really highlights how crucial clear financial records are and the power of just sheer determination. But if there is one single lesson that stands above everything else, it is this. Miss Camille's actions were all driven by love and trust. And while we all build our relationships on that same foundation, this case is just a painful reminder that when it comes to major assets, like a house, emotional trust is no substitute for clear legal protection. And really, that's the question this whole story leaves us with. It kind of forces us to look at our own lives and think about how we balance matters of the heart with the practical and sometimes pretty difficult realities of protecting ourselves. Where do you draw that line? It's definitely a question worth thinking about.